Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Historians Podcast. I'm Des.
And I'm Liz.
And today we have a very depressing topic.
Oh, Lord.
I've been telling Liz for weeks that this is going to be a topic that gets us really riled up because it involves one of our favorite things, and that's colonialism.
Imperialism! Yay! That is my literal reaction to imperialism.
Good to know.
I love learning about it, but it makes me so angry that I want to kick down some doors.
And this is gonna piss you the hell off because it pissed me off so much. I made a donation after this to a nation experiencing this problem. So for this episode, I gave Liz the prompt of something very vague, but also it only encapsulates a certain amount of time, and that was the British Raj.
She's giving nothing, baby. No. Dear listener, can I tell you that when Desiree looked at me and said, I have your prompt, and I was like, I'm sat, baby. And she went, the British Raj. And I went, Lord, that's a big topic. And then I found
It's about 100 years worth, of...
Yeah, and then I found out I was misinformed. So I thought that it was a lot longer than that. I truly thought that the East India Company was more like there was a position of a Raj, but I'm just dumb. And
well, and that's why I wanted you to look it up, because a lot of people don't know what it is. It is different from just British colonialism in India as a topic, because that had been going on for a while longer. And
just a little bit.
Yeah, just so I thought it would be good to give you a primer on that, because we're going to be talking about an event that happened during this, towards the very tail end of that system of governance.
Alrighty, so the Raj, the British Raj. The Raj was the British system put in place in 1858 after a rebellion, the Indian Rebellion of 1858. Before that, it was essentially ruled by the East India Company. And the East India Company is literally a joint stock company, and it was dissolved in 1874. So it was still prominent and running.
Yeah.
Nearly 20 years later. And as somebody who's a proud union member, fourth generation union member, the fuck is this bullshit with the joint stock company literally running a whole ass country?
It's a mess.
Two countries. So there were two types of territory, British India and native states, and then it was later reinterpreted by the British Parliament to be like, no, actually it's everyone is ruled by Her Majesty the Queen Victoria. So yeah, that's I was the
Queen Victoria, essentially.
Queen Victoria, yeah. And which honestly I could go into Queen Victoria, because she had a very fascinating life to me, but also her rule, it was kind of like she did a lot. She was very powerful, but also she did a lot and she was very powerful.
Yeah.
Or her regime.
Yeah.
Was very powerful. I mean, at this time it was one of the peaks of British imperialism, where it was the sun never sets on British lands type of thing, where they were everywhere across the world. So yeah, I'm ready to bitch and moan, baby.
Oh yeah.
Can we go in?
We absolutely can dive in. So, drum roll please, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Bengal famine of 1943. So,
And if I know anything about the British and famines, I bet these bitches caused it.
I'm not going to give away any details. But I'll let you and the listener come to your own conclusions about what was the actual cause of this famine.
Okay.
Because in academia, all the papers I read, all the books I read were very similar. They're like, I'm going to tell you what happened, and here are the numbers, and you can tell me.
I mean, most of the time with like the Irish famine, a lot of the things kind of, because again, the British do have a lot of power, but a lot of the scholarly approaches are like, you make your own decision, but here's what I'm laying out.
There was a few that wanted to draw lines in the sand and be like, I think it was specifically this one, but those were far and few between. I made sure to read them. I wanted both sides, but we'll just
listener,
take a look.
So I'm going in pissed. Don't go into a subject pissed.
Well, that's why I chose this.
I want you to know that with a subject, you might go in pissed, but please try and be objective and take in facts. And then, so I might switch my thought process. I might not.
I considered all factors going into this, you know, the time period, people's attitudes towards the people of Bengal. There's a lot that goes into this that's not just having to do with food.
Okay.
So before we start in with like the chronology of leading up to this, I want to cover a very important topic on famine. So a lot of economists and historians in all of my sources made a very important point to describe that there are like two kind of ways, and there might be more now, but there's two general ways you can look at famine and how a famine comes about. And those two ways are fad versus fee. So fad, or FAD, means food availability decline, and that is focused on crop failure. So, you know, why is there no food? Oh, it's because the crops weren't good. And that can be, you know, driven by a couple things like, oh, the people aren't good at farming. The land isn't good for farming. You know, things like
climate influence and like whatever, if it was rainy that season, if it was bad, if there was a drought or something.
Yeah, those are more natural focused reasons that it's nobody's real fault.
Yeah.
Except, you know, maybe the bad farming.
It's an act of God.
Yeah, maybe bad farming techniques or something, which I'm sure the British would try and pull, you know, and say. But you know, things that are out of your control.
We're not supposed to put this crop here. We can't. We're not supposed to be making this crop in this type of climate.
You're cash cowing us.
Why can't you grow it though? We just told you this soil's not good for kern.
Kern. And then there's fee, which is failure of exchange entitlements. And now this focuses on structural vulnerabilities of a culture and human involvement. So this is more so like, oh, there's plenty of food, nobody can afford it though.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it's more than just that, but in essential essence of it, it is the people can't obtain the food for various reasons, whether it be caste and cultural reasons, monetary value, inflation, things like that. That's what that encompasses. And
the poor are going to die.
Yeah. And the famine can have both sometimes. So going into this is a good reference to have as to thinking of what caused this.
It's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Was it fad that then turned into fee, or was it fee that then the poor and the working class like were swiped out, and then it turned into an actual like food availability?
Right. And this is what a lot of academic journals focus on with this topic.
Interesting.
So I thought it was important to include. You know, do with it what you will. It's very important how this is applied. And I just want to make sure, you know, that I am going about this in a very pragmatic way because it's a very emotional topic. And, you know, I don't want anyone to think that we don't take this seriously, despite being a, you know, edutainment comedy, you know.
And that's the thing is like, a lot of topics do really piss me off and get me angry, but I have that weird like justice thing that my approach to like, because some situations just sound so unbelievably inhumane and just like a devil came up with this. No human could have come up with this, but it was humans. And then you just kind of go, and then I think that is, it's not funny. It's that, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Type of like, yeah, of course, you know, just let them die, I guess. where it's that type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's throwing that in the face of the monster, in the belly of the beast, where it's like, no, I'm going to show you how ridiculous this sounds.
Yeah. So this is just an important thing to start off with.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you some background leading up to this, because let me tell you, the famine of 1943 did not exactly start in 1943.
It never does.
There was a lot of leading up factors, and in those factors was that India in general was under colonial rule of the British.
Yep.
So British Raj. And around 1935, we have the Government of India Act. And this established provincial autonomy, which means it's kind of like states' rights for like the US. So each province had its own kind of government. So there is like a governor of Bengal.
Yep. So it was like representation.
Right.
And again, my American brain goes no taxation without representation. So it's like, that worked once. Or a couple of times.
So there's at least the illusion that you have some sort of local government. And another important factor in this is the beginning of World War II. So the war against Germany was declared on India's behalf in September 1939. So India did not voluntarily go into this war because they were involved with the British. The British kind of said, oh, sure, we'll volunteer this.
That's like the little friend of the group just yapping and yapping at the bar and cashing checks that they cannot cash with their mouths.
Yep.
And then the big friend, I am 6 foot, is the one. And it's, yeah, well, she can beat you up. No, I can't.
Please don't sign me up for this.
Don't sign. I'm a very pacifist.
I'm a pacifist.
This is not my fight.
Well, exactly. So, there are some resentments with that. And the Japanese actually invade Burma, which is to the east of Bengal, and neighboring them in December of 1940. So they do have like an active threat approaching them.
Yep.
And an estimated 600,000 people fled Burma, and many of them migrated to Bengal since they were neighbors.
Wow.
So that's a lot of people. That's a lot of mouths to feed.
That is a mass migration.
Yeah. And it causes a lot of problems, and the government begins to worry about what are we going to do if the Japanese get closer and closer to us. So they put into place in March of 1942, the Japanese have left or are leaving Burma at this point, but they're worried they're going to come to Bengal. So the government decides in March to put into place something called denial policy, also known as scorched earth, that you may have heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
And Governor John Herbert put this into action.
As you leave, you make it so the incoming forces cannot do anything with the lands. That's
yes. So what
old-time scorched earth was.
Yes. So what scorched earth is it's making the land inhospitable to the enemy.
And unusable.
Unusable, yeah.
Salting the earth.
Yes. So the governor of Bengal at the time was John Herbert. And he wanted to prep for this possible invasion of Bengal. And he wanted to focus on food and transportation. And what that meant for Bengal was boats and rice. An estimated 66,000 boats were affected. They were either impounded or destroyed. Destroyed outright.
Because that makes sense.
Right? They did kind of try to compensate people, but it wasn't enough. And they also, got rid of around 40,000 tons of rice. So what did they do with this rice? Yeah. It was very vague in a lot of sources, but in general, it seemed like the government would buy it at a fixed rate, which was not up to market standard, and it was supposedly going to be redistributed to places that were insufficient. Most sat in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Or was destroyed.
Yeah, that tracks.
So, not being very forthright from the beginning.
It's not like that there was a war effort going on or anything, meaning like
the people could have used it,
or like, even because at first I was like, well, they might have put it into soldier rations, and then I was like, I don't remember hearing much about soldiers eating rice.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, where the hell did the rice go?
Well, that's because the British were much more concerned with feeding the soldiers from like their wheat stocks.
Yep.
So maybe some of the rice made it to them, but in my sources, it didn't seem like that was their main focus. The British were pretty good at taking care of their own, no matter who they had to affect for it.
Their own British soldiers,
yes.
not the Indian soldiers that were also fighting in different front lines throughout, But
don't know.
I don't know what Indian rations were at that time.
So by December 1941, just because of the war in general and being thrown into that, the price of rice had already risen by 75% since the declaration of the war. So despite this, they were still exporting rice, and these exports of rice were growing each month, moving rice away from Bengal. Mm-hmm. So despite, the price of rice growing up and everything, they were still very much so a surplus, and they were moving it away from them.
Where 600,000 people just migrated to.
Yes.
Okay.
Make it make sense. It won't. And to make this easier to export rice, they lifted bans in exporting to freely move and kind of have a laissez-faire kind of vibe with the exports and imports of rice. Mm-hmm. This just moved things quicker out of Bengal and was not beneficial to them. By the way, all of this happens without the consent of the Bengal ministry. So the entire government of the province of Bengal didn't know what John Herbert was doing. He just made this happen. And when they came back from their Easter break, they were pissed.
I would have been too. We just had a mass migration.
Yeah.
Of literal refugees, like war refugees, essentially, into our area. And you're taking away the food? John Herbert?
Yeah, he had to scramble.
I bet that you know what? I bet John Herbert grew up with these Indian ministers. Yeah, John Herbert, who probably had
the whitest name you know.
Who probably had an office in London. Who probably maybe he had an estate in British India.
But they had to live there.
Yeah, but like it was they had nice estates.
Right,
they were not,
yeah.
Sorry.
So he hired people under him to do these jobs for denial and everything, and so he kind of had to scramble when they found out to add people they approved.
Oh, I thought that you wouldn't be mad.
I thought I could totally handle
John Herbert, you're starving people.
So going forward after denial, I just think it's important to mention some things about rice in Bengal. So how rice production or cultivation works in Bengal is there are 3 main harvests. Mm-hmm. The 2 first ones are smaller. There's the burro and the ouse. And then there's a long period of time between those 2 and the Aman harvest. And that one is it's kind of what they call like the starvation period, where there's an extended periods of months where you kind of got to stretch that last harvest.
Like a winter harvest.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So that's how rice cultivation works. It was also an extremely complex system between landlord and cultivators. Mm-hmm. And so they had, set up relationships like almost like serfdom. It was very similar in some ways.
Oh, it was the caste system and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was, a big part of this. And a lot of these cultivators relied on their landlords to take care of them. Mm-hmm. There was, a caring complex.
It was like crop sharing.
Yes. Yeah. It was not so much like give me everything. It was oh no, we're going to have a mutual.
You're free, but you need to
get the rice cultivated.
Get this rice and then line my pockets with that crop. Thank you.
Right. And, they're very complex relationships, and it was super fucked up after denial. It was super messed up because these people were going around saying, oh, here's money for your crops. Here's money for your crops. And they're like, I give my crops to this guy up on the hill, man. Like, mm-hmm. and they're like, no, but you have to sell us this. And they're like, oh. So it messed things up. Mm-hmm. It was not good for, sociocultural reasons. Mm-hmm. And to mention as well, looking at previous years, looking at that food availability distribution, mm-hmm. The supply of rice was only 5% less than previous 5-year averages. So in 1941, they had a 14% less average, and there was no famine declared that year. So they had a good amount of rice.
Yeah.
Granted, take the numbers with a grain of salt because, record keeping was not great back then. But as far as we're aware, there was no reasoning that the crops were not doing so well.
Yeah.
And fishing as well was highly disturbed by this because of the boats. No boats equals no fishing.
He literally did the scorched earth. So
many of these boats were rented out by lower castes to make their living.
Yeah.
So, and fish is also considered a luxury food to them. You need rice.
Yeah.
You don't need the fish to put on top of it.
No.
And compensation was given to these fishermen, but it was not equal to the lost assets and lost business.
Well, sure, compensation was given to them, but like if you have a pocket full of money, but the money is near worthless because the prices have skyrocketed, or the money, there is nothing to buy with that money. So it's like, well, I can't eat this coin that you gave me. I can't eat this piece of paper. This bill that you gave me.
Yeah, and a lump sum tends to get eaten away at, whereas like consistent wages can be spread out.
Yes. A lump sum, yeah. If it's what, 1941? Yeah, so this will be going on for a while. So
yeah,
a lump sum at the beginning of something,
not going to last you very long.
No.
And one of the main determinants for famine vulnerability was class.
Yep.
So that creates, a problem as well.
That's one thing that transcends borders and hemispheres.
Sure does.
That the poor always gets the shit end of the stick. They get the short end of the stick, and that's what pisses me off all the
right. So the government kind of, realizes what's going on, but not to its full gravity. And they set statutory price ceilings to establish for rice and rice paddy, but the prices were below market value. They were not updating the prices quick enough. And this ends up pissing off people taking a loss on their product and allows the black market to essentially thrive because the government's saying, oh, you have to sell it at $2. Honey, I just got this rice for $5 from the farm.
Yeah.
So now you have to sell it at a loss, and you're going to sell your product on the black market because you want to make that $7 to have the profit.
Why would I sell this rice that I have already given you this amount of labor for something that my labor isn't even going to be matched on? I could eat this rice.
Exactly. So this was in July.
Or sell it on a black market.
And the price had already risen 65% from July to August 1942. And the starvation season was looming at this time. You're right about to enter that season where you don't have anything and you have to hold on until the beginning of the year.
Oh, shoot.
And then a cyclone hits. On October 16th, this is going to move very quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be hit after hit. It's going to look like a boxing match, I'm sure.
Yeah, October 16th, 1942, things that were partially or wholly destroyed, estimated 7,400 villages were affected by this.
Villages.
Entire villages.
So it's not like 7,400 people, which is an insane amount, not gonna lie. It's villages. So that is villages that made
of multiple houses.
Of multiple, like hundreds of, there's populations in those villages.
And
Dang.
the land was heavily inundated. So about 3,200 square kilometers were destroyed of that winter crop. So, America hears about this. What?
I wasn't even thinking of the crop.
Yeah, the crop is the worst part.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's all terrible. People died.
Yeah.
But then on October 28th, the American Economic Warfare Board sent a communique to the Indian government expressing concern because they heard about this, about the food situation with this.
Mm-hmm.
And the government told them not to worry about it, that these food shortages tend to only affect small populations.
The people that keep us in power? Yeah, well, there's there's going to be a wonderful thing called trickle-down economics. I think that it's called I piss down a mountain and they hope that they can lap it up. Guillotines need to come back.
Oh, if you think that now, wait till wait. So they had what were called price control conferences, and during the sixth one is when they finally started doing something.
Okay, so they had these conferences, probably weeks long,
trying to figure things out. Nothing happened.
And catered to.
Yeah.
Going, what are we going to do about the poors?
Finally, during the sixth one, they outlined a basic plan, but did nothing to enact it.
I'm about to black out. I'm about to black out, dude. Like, I see... Okay.
Now,
okay, I'm here.
3 days later, the viceroy, named Lord Linlithgow, approved of an establishment of the Department of Food. But this focused only on the city of Calcutta, and Calcutta was, the capital of West Bengal.
Yeah.
So a very limited, fix, it seems,
it's
for the problem.
City.
So at this point, it seems like they're grasping at straws. I mean, in fact, at this point, all of the indicators of the Bengal Famine Code, yes, they had a code, had already been met by October 1942. But no famine was declared.
I bet the people were declaring it. The government might not have been,
They
but
sure
the people were. I feel like famine is declared when the first malnourished baby, dies. And I think that people needed to start putting their malnourished babies on the front doors of those colonial governors.
Oh, honey.
That would probably,
They surely did.
They did.
They were laying in the streets. Everywhere.
Oh, gosh.
So people began at this point in 1942 selling off their possessions, and looting begins, essentially. Yeah. They're getting desperate, more and more desperate. People are dying at an alarming rate because of malnutrition. And by December 3rd of 1942, the Viceroy Linlithgow realizes that shit is going down, and he cables the Secretary of State to relay a serious deterioration in the food situation in India. And he tries to appeal to their war-focused mind, thinking that by saying it'll hurt the war work in India, that it would help their case. They did not respond to this. They said, no, you're good. You're good. It's fine.
He should have sent a cable saying, shit's fucked!
Yeah, they did multiple times, and multiple levels of government did. Meanwhile, Calcutta is bombed for like the 4th time on Christmas Eve. They're getting the shit end of the stick there. Shit's going down. They're in the trenches.
Yeah.
So Calcutta is going through it right now. I mean, the whole province of Bengal is going through it right now. But L.G. Pinnell, who is the director of civil supplies for Bengal, decides at this point he's going to roll the dice. And December 27th, he issued an order giving agents of the directorate authority to break locks on shuttered shops and storage sheds in Calcutta that failed to open business in 24 hours because after this bombing, nobody wanted to open things up. But people were starving. Yeah. So things needed to be opened up.
I'm sure the shopkeepers were kind of, also kind of rattled.
Yeah.
Too. And maybe they didn't open up their email that day saying, hey, open up the shop within 24 hours.
Yeah, so people did break open shops. It was like denial all over again.
Fully joking again. But honestly, guys, this is pissing me off.
Yeah, as it should.
I'm sorry that I'm making jokes. This is not a joking thing. It's again, one of those things where it's like, this is dunces.
Yeah.
This is
you think it's bad now.
Confederacy of dunces.
You think it's bad now. Jeez. So, they thought this would help redistribute. It's that beautiful word, redistribution again, that they never seem to fucking know how to do.
Trickle down.
And this only made people more wary of the government because it was like denial part 2.
Yeah.
And it expanded the black market. Because do you think all the people that broke into these shops were actually going to be eating this rice? No, that's valuable shit. They're selling it.
Yes.
So looking at you, Britain.
Looking at you.
I want to do a little interlude talking about the British government at this point and
you should.
What was their point of view while they're sitting on their high fucking horses in London?
I bet they were like, we are trying our best, guys. We are literally white knighting it. We're the saviors, guys.
Right.
We're trying. And then it's like, you had 6 conferences.
Yeah.
You did 6 Zoom calls and nothing happened. This could have been an email.
So at this point, you'll know this name, Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
And the British government were told many times that there was a famine in Bengal, and each time they denied it in a different way. They said they have plenty of rice. They said, oh, we'll send a couple tons of wheat. We'll help you out. But overall, Britain suppressed accusations of famine, and they especially did so in the press.
And kids, when you think the government wouldn't do that, yes, they would, and they have many, many times. When historians and other people who have, read certain things say, hey guys, I'm starting to hear a little tune that I've heard before. Listen and nip it in the fucking bud.
Yeah. So they would not help send supplies even unless it was dealing with the war in some way, because Winston Churchill was super wrapped up in that. And I just want to give you a little quote from him. This is the second quote I've heard from him about this, and it's the least heinous of them. So he said, after the governor of Delhi sent a telegram depicting the horrors of the famine going on, Winston Churchill said, then why hasn't Gandhi died yet?
Winston Churchill, when I see you in hell, you get the people's elbow. Okay?
Truly.
I'm coming in from
this is the least heinous of the quotes.
Rope. Jesus.
This is the least heinous. The other one was
like, I'm not even surprised.
The other one was that the Indians are a beastly people of a beastly religion, and any famine that they are having is brought upon themselves because they breed like rabbits. I'm paraphrasing.
This is coming from a man who couldn't wake up for 20 seconds without a brandy, a scotch, and a cigar. Beastly? Are you fucking kidding me?
Beastly. And in general, the British government didn't help until it was already too late, and even then, they were very stingy and would often say to other inquiring parties of other countries that they were helping, and they did not send those supplies.
The British being British.
So then we also have this problem with Calcutta at this point. Now, this is the capital of West Bengal. It was a major urban center for them, and the people who were suffering through this famine thought that moving to Calcutta would help them survive the war, and it was closer to food distribution aid. By January 1943, just now entering that 1943 date marker, Calcutta was filling up with beggars.
Refugees. Yeah. Refugees. They're literal war weapons. Not to you, darling. I'm so sorry. Not yelling at you.
No, you're good.
I'm just like, beggars? No.
I'm quoting the book.
Yes.
And by March, starvation was spreading from towns to villages. Now, there is like a way that famine trickles, and usually it's kind of like it spreads outward. So it's going from city to towns to villages, because the villages, I think, are closest to the cultivation process.
Well, they sometimes have stockpiles too. It's more where the
it's harder for the government to reach them there as well.
Yeah, and it's also
more effort to be made.
The source of the food. It's like, no, we have one bag, and so we're going to not be starving for like a week more than those in the more urban areas.
Right. But at this point, it's going from towns to villages, and dead bodies are strewn alongside the roads. And the problem with these dead bodies is there's not enough, you can't clean them up fast enough. And also there is this religious separation where there's the Muslims and Hindus at this point, and they have two very different styles of burial. And because of that, there's this, what do we do, with these bodies? Are they Hindu? Are they Muslim? They had a whole aid for identifying which religion these people were so they could get a proper burial.
Also, it's like, if you're not a government official or anything, and you are a citizen or whoever is being ruled over, walking down these roads, you don't want to disrespect whoever
Right.
is lying there. They have already had the injustice of dying of starvation when there was no need. And then you're like, well, the only like respect and dignity that I could give them would be left in this world is their
A proper burial. And, people are getting desensitized to it, though, at this point. There's so many.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked when I tell you exactly how many. So going into May of 1943, the food minister, the secretary of the food department, yes, they had. What a shitty job to have at this point. And the Bengal civil supply minister held a press conference.
To who?
To the people.
What
the
people?
presses. The presses.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a few people still at this point. Citing that the famine was caused by psychological factors as the central food crisis, and urged people to keep up morale for the war. It's giving, there is no war in Ba Sing Se.
Literal.
There is no war here.
You know what? They're starving because they want to.
Yeah.
You're depressed.
It's that Gandhi man and his fasting.
Yeah, you're sad not because you lost your whole family and watched them slowly deteriorate from a man-made famine.
At this point, it's leaning that way, isn't it?
It's leaning that way. They keep on. I said that I would go in little.
The evidence is a bit alarming, though, with this case. I feel like,
hey guys, the facts don't lie.
And that's why people, say they do put up the argument, because there was the cyclone, that knocked out and that's what my opinion is. Liz is glaring at me right now. That is my opinion as well.
Not at you, just at the whole
I listened to the devil's advocates.
Oh yes,
I made sure, because you gotta be careful.
You gotta know all sides of the story so you know.
But it's giving too little, too late.
Yeah, a little bit.
Finally, the government passes a resolution to stop exports from Bengal. They were still exporting.
Are you fucking kidding me? What the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me?
I told you it gets worse.
I'm so sorry, listener. You're going to see a side of me that I try to keep reined in. But also, it's very hard.
So now they're switching to importing stock from surplus provinces.
Oh, no fucking way!
And they're just now releasing the government stockpiles to the people. How generous. How generous.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Liz is leaving the room.
Use your fucking brains! Holy shit! I scared my dog, but holy shit!
And now, in May, the deaths are increasing into the rural areas. So even the smallest village at this point is being affected.
I'm surprised it took this long.
And of course,
they were resilient people. Oh my gosh, you know what this shows me? The people who were affected by this were relatively very resilient, because it took this long for them to start slipping and dropping. And my heart goes, and soul just like aches for that. Yeah. Because it's like, your resilience stopped them, because they were like, see, they know what to do. No, they're just trying to survive.
Yeah. And moving forward into the summer, Calcutta is getting filled. It's filled with these quote unquote beggars, aka starving people.
Refugees.
Yeah. And the government thought this was a huge problem. So, blink, blink, it is. July 30th, they decide to put into act something called the Bengal Vagrancy Ordinance, which allowed the police to arrest anyone who appeared to be a vagrant. These were just starving people.
You mean, so what does a vagrant look like? Well, they're a little downtrodden, they're very skinny, they can't eat.
It was very vague.
And
I don't know.
You mean the whole population? So you mean the whole population? That's my family.
I can't define vagrancy, but I know it when I see it. That's the vibe.
American cops?
Yeah. So that was not helpful. It moved people out to these camps, essentially, where they could try and feed them, but there was never enough to actually feed them. And in August, the Secretary of State, named last name Amory, presents an urgent memorandum on India's food situation to the British government. Desperate, begging for help. Once again, not taken seriously, and nothing important was done. I think he might have got them a couple tons of like wheat, like, and they delayed sending it. Like it was
a couple of tons.
Yeah.
For the whole population.
Yeah.
Do you know what a couple of not to you, Des. Do you know what a couple of tons is? Like 4 cows.
Yeah.
A cow is a ton.
So, and at this point too, Lord Linlithgow is on his way out of office and essentially says, "Peace out, Girl Scouts. This sucked." And yeah, so he's washing his hands of it, and in comes like a new person, to help with this.
Yeah.
And they have this newspaper called The Statesman that's like their New York Times, essentially. It's like everybody knows about it. It's their main paper. So August 8th, Ian Steffens, who is the main person of The Statesman, publishes a scathing article in The Statesman condemning the government. And while pretty much any press on the famine at this point is prohibited, the rules were ambiguous enough that he published a huge photo spread of all the dying people in the streets for everyone to see.
Yeah,
good on him.
Can I say good on him? Because when the sins come out to light.
Yep. At this point,
I saw a photo spread and I was like, I swear, if this British bitch comes in and is like, "Oh, look at these storehouses. See, we're feeding the people. It's all psychology." But thankfully, no,
yeah, he did an expose.
But it's sad that my first thought process was, that's probably what happened.
Because that's where it seemed like it was going. The fabric of society begins to fall apart at this point. And what I mean by that is that everything about the culture of the Bengal people starts to fall to the wayside. Husbands begin to leave families. Families leave elders and children. The whole family structure of this society means nothing anymore. If you are mothers with children, start to leave the weakest children behind. Grandparents are left in their villages as people go to search for food elsewhere for them to die. Husbands leave families because they can't support them anymore or because they want to try and save themselves.
And I'm guessing that this culture was very much like multi-generational households, or like it's within the same area.
Yes.
So you take care of your elders, you take care, and then the elders, your village.
Most of the pressure fell on the husband, and that's why there were so many abandoned women specifically, because it was a lot of pressure as the head of household, and it fell to shit, man. It was very depressing. And cholera also becomes rampant at this point, and bodies are dropping faster than can be picked up anymore. So they're just laying in the street, no burials, nothing.
Famine and plague, usually.
And that's a key factor with famine and plague because it's estimated that a large chunk of deaths happened actually after the famine because of malnutrition and plague. Because we consider them famine deaths.
Because famine, it's like with a lot of humans are very resilient, and humans are very they know how to survive. I mean, hello. We're this far. And so it's like when faced with starvation, a lot of times humans find ways to find sustenance. But when a barrier like a completely disembodied government has stopped all of those possible routes, because you might be seen as a vagrant, you might be seen as a beggar, you might be seen as a looter.
You lose humanity. They dehumanize you that way.
And it's like when people have hit starvation, that is the time that humanity needs to be heightened, where it's like, no, these are humans, they need to be fed, they need to have clean water. They are humans. Come on, people. I am now in that quiet, calm anger.
Well, now we're at death's doorstep, essentially, with Bengal. September 9th of 1943, the government decides to withhold all official death statistics.
Jesus.
As it wasn't deemed useful. And there also was a paper shortage, so that's their main like cited factor of this. It's like there's not as much paper.
Hey, we're just asking for one report.
Yeah. No, they didn't want to release that. But the worldwide press began being very aware of this problem, and people were coming over, trying to help and to document. Now we have a new viceroy named Archibald Wavell, and he was sworn in. So he replaced Linlithgow, and he was sworn in on October 20th, and he set to work on the famine. However, at this point, it was kind of too late. He tried to do what the British did at home with a rationing attempt, but this was not always successful. And there was a lot of factors of this, but one that I thought was kind of a unique factor for Bengal was that Hindus couldn't be guaranteed rice that was considered ritually poor. They used rice in their rituals, and they couldn't be guaranteed that the ration was good for that.
And here's what, again, pisses me off is that not about anything like that, but it's like, okay, there's this small hiccup. You know what you could solve with that? Hiring or like bringing on people who could put that process
Too much for them. Too much. And
it wouldn't take much, guys.
This also didn't work because the rice that was given out was often rotten from sitting in the government warehouses. It sat for that long.
They probably had weevils and stuff.
Yes, and it was rotten. Yeah. And it wasn't even fit for animal consumption. Yet they had a process where they reconditioned the rice and gave it out as gruel to people, and many people got sick from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like doy at this point. And of course Churchill is still lying about sending rice to quell these inquiries from other countries.
I feel like it's proof that they are not, because there's no stores of grain, there's no stores of other, barley or anything.
As if it couldn't get worse, on March. So this is a little bit after 1943. This is like people are still suffering well into 1944, and they're trying to recover, but they're slipping. The whole like nation of Bengal as a whole is really suffering at this point post the declaration of the famine. And in March 28th of 1945, the Ministry of Bengal collapses. So this was due to an agricultural grant bill that they failed to pass. It was tying up the budget, and it resulted in a vote of no confidence, which sent them into a disbandment and declared Section 93, which is essentially their version of martial law. And it gave extensive emergency powers to the governor, who at that time had replaced John Herbert, and his name was Casey. So, and I don't want to say poor anybody in this case, but poor Governor Casey, he was just trying to get clout so that he could get elected in Australia later, and he inherited a shit show.
No, not poor Casey.
Yeah, not poor Casey. It's everyone.
Fuck
in this
you,
was
Casey.
Really, yeah, everyone is
not every Casey. There's a couple Caseys, but good Caseys are out there too.
So
Casey Anthony, I'm looking at you. Fuck you.
So May 8th was V-Day, of course. Hooray, the war is over. And the Famine Equity Commission that they had recently, formed, they made a report on Bengal and published it this day, detailing the failures of the British government. And that was the main thing that was kind of highlighted in that document.
Release the famine files.
Truly, yeah.
Oh my god.
Declassify the famine files.
Yeah.
And eventually, there's British general elections, and Churchill is out. So things start to get a little bit better, but not really, because the people that came in also didn't care. They feigned caring. They didn't care.
Well, we have to work on what was happening at home.
Exactly, and that was exactly what they did.
If you want to be an empire that the sun never sets upon, everything is your fucking home then.
Truly. It gets worse, because by the end of 1945, and November 21st, Calcutta erupts into violence.
I'm surprised it took this fucking long.
Protests, it's essentially a protest that went wrong. It wasn't even related to the famine. But people had pent-up grievances and essentially just joined in. The government thought that it was like an anti-colonial sentiment, and it kind of was, but it was mostly that people had lost that part of their mind that was hinged from the famine, and they were like, oh no, they were crashing out.
The thing is
Rightfully so, crashing out.
I think that the government might have seen it as like anti-colonialism, but these are the people who have lost their whole families. They've literally had to witness their mothers, fathers, loved ones,
Die.
children waste away,
Yeah.
while also wasting away themselves.
Yeah.
So that is a hell on earth. I would get pissed too. I am living in the 21st century, the good Lord's year of 2025, and I'm pissed. I'm this pissed. I feel like it's very justifiable pissedness.
It is.
Pissedness.
It makes sense psychologically as well. This ends up being 4 days of violence. 33 people were killed and 400 were seriously injured. Also, I think 6 lorries went missing as well, like government vehicles.
Well, if they were lorries, they might have had stockpiles of food.
Who knows?
They've
hidden it before.
Like, sure, the lorries might have, but they might have redistributed whatever was in there.
Yeah. And in the end, about 3 million people died of the famine or in relation to it from diseases like, cholera or just malnutrition. It affects your immunity. Mm-hmm. So you're more susceptible to diseases.
Well, when your body can barely function because it doesn't have literally the calories, the energy to walk down the street, it doesn't have the energy to fight off a virus. It doesn't have an energy to fight off any type of sickness. You could get a common cold and boom, you're dead.
You're done. So that's pretty much it for the Bengal famine of 1943. The British Raj would end in 1947. So looking at our discussion board, some topics that I think are just really interesting is the outside versus inside causes of famine. It seems pretty plain to me, looking at the sources, that this was kind of like an inside job of the British. Mm-hmm. Not saying that they were intentionally being like, oh, cut them off. But
I think that
their negligence.
I think the British were just British and thought that they were. It's like, why would we send that money to help them?
Yeah. They saw the Indians as subhuman.
They saw them as subservient.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, there's
plenty of them.
You literally, we started out ruling you as a company.
Yeah.
You are the cogs in our machines. That's how they were. And they were like, wait, they had 3 million people to die? Like, wait a minute. I feel like that they were probably so far disconnected from it. Also, 3 million people, that's like all of LA dropping dead.
Yeah.
So that shows how significant this was.
Yeah. And then, it kind of brings up colonialism in India as a whole. You kind of touched upon that already with, how emotionally distant they were from the Bengal people because they just didn't care. They thought, oh, there's plenty of them to spare, not thinking of them as actual people with lives.
Yeah. And it's that cognitive dissonance where it's like, well, it's not affecting me. I don't give a shit if it's not affecting me. It's affecting someone.
And they were exporting up till the final fucking moment. Like, they didn't have...
They still saw India as a company.
Yeah.
They were like, sure, we put in the Raj and everything, but like, that was because the people got angry and showed up on our doorstep and we said, okay, we'll give you some power. We're not really too much power.
Yeah.
And I mean, it shows that thought process because they didn't disband the East India Company until like nearly 20 years later.
Yeah.
So of course they were continuing, and then it threw in, and then also the government probably didn't take time to figure out cultural norms, cultural traditions, familial
not till it was too
traditions.
late.
And even then, I'm pretty sure that they're like, why aren't they burying the bodies? Well, we don't know who is Hindu or who is Muslim, so we do not know how to properly respect their bodies. And then the British went, respecting their bodies?
Exactly. Yeah. What?
I didn't respect them when they were alive.
Exactly.
Why would I respect them as they're dead? And then at that moment, he lost the remaining 3 of his natural teeth.
Yes.
Because I popped him in the mouth. People need to be popped in the mouth more often.
They really do. And the thing is, too, is something I couldn't touch upon in this episode because I one, it would have involved way more research. And I really wanted to focus on the atrocities of famine.
Mm-hmm.
It's that there was a huge kind of religious divide in politics as well. That Muslim versus Hindu dynamic was very present, and it affected the politics of this.
And also, again, with the British, they really are like, no, we don't want to get involved in religious things, and yet they still get involved.
Well, because they didn't respect either of the religions. Yeah. They didn't give a shit.
And which also, it sounds like I'm dogging on the British, but like, y'all.
That's kind of why I chose this, is because I was like, I told Liz, like, this is going to be your favorite topic because we love shitting on colonialism.
Yeah, and it's like modern day England. Hey, I like your your people and everything. I'm not gonna say anything on the governance.
Yeah,
but because I'm not English, I'm not British. But also, it's like.
But in the past, these are the kind of cases we'd see.
Yes, and it's like the evidence speaks for itself. Honey, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you again. I think George Bush said
America,
that.
had our bout with Britain,
Exactly. Well, also Ireland.
Yeah.
Literally, this
is only one branch.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the tree.
And it's like, fool me once. Oh, you did it again. Oh, you did it again. You're doing it again? Fool me 27 times.
God damn.
What the hell? And at that point, you go, the person who fooled is like, no, I never fooled you. We have
getting gaslit by the British.
We have evidence.
Yeah, now there is definitely evidence, against them. And yeah, I apologize for having such a depressing topic.
I'm sorry, people. Facts don't care about your feelings.
Truly.
Really? Because my feelings are that you need to be popped in the mouth right now.
So, apologies for such a depressing topic, but the thing about history is things can get buried because they're not considered relevant anymore, or it was in the past, or they just don't want to bring them up. And I thought this was super important to point out. I personally was so appalled by this topic that after I did this, I did some research into like countries experiencing famine currently, and I made a donation because I told myself, if I ever were to see this again with my own eyes, this happening, and I could do anything about it, I'm going to.
With direct involvement, like an organization that does direct. Because famine affects humanity.
Right.
And we are a podcast that cares about humans. Humans are history, and history is our story. So humans are...
Yeah, so we will link you some options that we've vetted.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's a roller coaster. Insane how many times we can be like, oh, they're still going again.
Because, dear listener, also remember, we started this at least we started in 1941.
Yeah, the precursors came way
and this
before.
Was resolved near 45.
It took years, and it couldn't recover even. It was a slow recovery.
Yes. And then all I knew... Like I didn't know a lot of this, so thank you very much. This very informative, it got me pissed, as you saw. I'm so
kept telling Liz, I'm like, you're gonna be so pissed.
I hate it. I hate seeing humans think that they're better than other humans when it's like, I don't know.
History is written by the victor, but not today, and not on this episode.
Yeah, no. History is written by the victor. We're trying to be the podcast that goes to the victor's wives and the losers' wives and ask, what were they saying when they came home?
Yeah.
Like, because that's the truth of things. Not truth, but like, if you went in and I'm trying to allude back to like our mission statement where we're like, no, we want to talk to the washerwomen, the people who were affected by it.
Yeah.
Because I don't give a shit what the victor thinks. Because it's like, oh yeah, I smashed his face in, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you talk to the loser and he says, he called me a slur. And then punched me in the face. And then I was knocked out. He put me in a medically induced coma, technically. And it's like, oh, so you're the victor because nobody was there to fight back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
You just got to take a couple steps back and reassess the whole situation, babes.
And this entire presentation only skims
Yeah.
what actually happened and how many times they talked to the British, how many times they tried to work things out. Highly recommend a book called Hungry Bengal.
Yeah.
It'll be in my bibliography. So thank you everyone for coming along with us on this ride.
Yes, thank you.
I hope you learned a lot, and I hope that we didn't seem like we were only focusing on the negatives on the side of the British government. That just happens to be the only information that could be given on this topic. And that tells you something.
I mean, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, I think it might be British imperialism.
Amen to that.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
listening.
much for listening
To the historians.
Historians.